22-year-old Jasmine Pace was, like many young adults, navigating the complexities of finding love in today's world. By 2022, social media and dating apps had become commonplace for connecting with others, and Jasmine was no exception. She met someone online and quickly found herself swept off her feet, starting what seemed like a fairy tale romance with her Prince Charming. However, her new boyfriend turned out to be far from the prince she had imagined. Instead, he was more like a villain, straight out of the fairy tales she had grown up hearing about. Jasmine Pace, 22, was from Chattanooga, Tennessee. She was a student at Chattanooga State Community College, living at home with her parents while attending school full-time. She had a wide circle of friends and was supported by a loving family. Jasmine was a typical 22-year-old, just beginning her journey in life, trying to figure out what the future held. Like many in her generation, she turned to dating apps to meet new people, hoping to find a boyfriend, and she did. Jasmine began dating Jason Chen, who was also 22 and attending the University of Tennessee in Chattanooga. On Tuesday, November 22nd, 2022, Jasmine visited Jason's apartment after leaving her parents' house earlier that day. Phone records show that she and Jason spoke for over an hour that evening. Jason lived at 110 Tremont Street, and once Jasmine arrived, she texted her mom and brother, telling them she would be staying with her friend Emma for the week. This was out of character for Jasmine, as she typically spent Thanksgiving with her family. Her mom and brother were confused by the sudden change of plans, but they assumed she would call later to explain. In the early hours of Wednesday, November 23rd at 2:18 a.m., Jasmine sent her mom a text message with a pin to her location, but it went unnoticed. Then, on November 26th, 2 days after missing Thanksgiving with her family, Jasmine posted a message on Facebook saying, "Thanksgiving with my baby," along with a few pictures and videos. Jasmine's friend Emma, who Jasmine had claimed would be hosting her for the week, noticed that the videos in the post were old Snapchat memories rather than recent clips. One of the photos, a selfie of Jasmine wearing lingerie, startled her friends and family, who knew she would never post something like that. Emma called Jasmine several times, but there was no answer. She texted her, urging her to respond because she felt something was wrong. Eventually, Jasmine replied via Snapchat saying, "I need time alone. Give me a break." Similar messages came from Jasmine's phone to her parents and siblings, though no one had spoken directly with her. The last confirmed place Jasmine was seen was at Jason's apartment, though she had said she was at Emma's. Let's take a moment to discuss Jason. People who knew him, including former classmates, said he had a history of stealing phones, taking things from his jobs, and even impersonating others online. At this point, it seemed likely that Jason was behind the strange messages and posts coming from Jasmine's phone. On the evening of November 26th, Jasmine's mom, Karina, used the My Chevy app to track her daughter's car. The car had been moved to Signal View Apartments, at 900 Mountain Creek Road, roughly 4.5 miles from Jason's apartment. When Karina arrived, the car doors were locked and there was no one in the car. However, she noticed that the driver's seat had been moved far back, which was odd because Jasmine was only 5'2". Karina, at 6:55 a.m. on Sunday, November 27th, patrol officers responded to the call from Jasmine's parents. They met with the family at Jason's apartment, and Karina shared the pin that Jasmine had sent her. After speaking with residents, they confirmed Jason lived at apartment 210. The officers entered the apartment and found Jasmine's driver's license and several credit cards, but there was no sign of either Jasmine or Jason. A neighbor reported hearing a loud thud and a scream at 2:15 a.m., just 3 minutes before Jasmine sent the location pin to her mom. The neighbor had called the police, but the officers didn't make contact with anyone inside the apartment. Later, Jasmine's parents learned about the 911 call and were frustrated that the police hadn't checked the apartment when there was clear evidence of distress. The police executed a search warrant on Jason's apartment and found signs of a violent altercation. Blood was found in multiple rooms, including the living room, master bedroom, and bathroom. A Walgreens bag containing cleaning supplies was found on the couch, and the apartment appeared to have been thoroughly cleaned. Using luminol, the police discovered large traces of blood in several rooms, indicating that the apartment had been cleaned after a major blood spill. Surveillance footage from Jason's neighbor showed him leaving his apartment just minutes before Jasmine's car was moved. He was wearing a scarf, sunglasses, and later a surgical mask. On the same day, Jason made a trip to Walgreens where he bought peroxide, rubbing alcohol and paper towels. Footage from traffic cameras and the neighbors' surveillance confirmed that Jasmine's car had been driven by someone wearing the same type of attire that Jason had been seen in earlier. The evidence led police to believe that Jason had murdered Jasmine and transported her remains. On November 29th, the police tracked Jason to a house in Nolanville, Tennessee. He had cuts on his right hand, suggesting a possible struggle. Investigators now believed that Jasmine had been murdered and her body removed from the apartment. Jason was arrested and charged with her murder. While Jasmine remained missing, her friends, family, and the local community held a vigil in her honor. On December 1st, Jasmine's remains were found in a suitcase off of Sunk Creek. The news devastated her loved ones. Her friends and family described her as kind, smart, loving, and always ready to offer advice. Jason Chen's bond hearing, initially scheduled for December 6th, was rescheduled for December 9th. During the hearing, investigators testified that Jason's cell phone records led them to Jasmine's remains. Police found her remains in a rolling suitcase, wrapped in trash bags, in the fetal position. She had been stabbed over 60 times. The hearing also revealed that Jason had a history of inappropriate online behavior, including impersonating his classmates. Several former classmates and neighbors described him as unsettling, and socially awkward. Though the case is ongoing, the evidence suggests that Jason Chen is responsible for Jasmine's tragic death. Her family and friends continue to seek justice for her. Thank you for watching. We will continue to follow this case closely and bring you any updates as they become available. Stay tuned for more, and as always, stay safe.